Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast from fellow international student. We are so excited to bring our guest, Neelu Vyas. Neelu is based out of Toronto, and she has significant experience in supply chain industry and currently working as a supply chain consultant. And I'm personally super excited to learn about her and her career journey and how her experience can be beneficial for you guys who are looking for jobs or venturing into supply chain and trying to learn more about this particular industry. So if you're new to the channel, we post a lot of content about what's happening in Canada, your career, jobs, colleges, and skill set, and all of these things. So if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, like, share it with your friends, and we'll get things rolling. Hi, Neelu, how are you?
Hello, hi. I'm good. How are you, Arjun?
I'm doing fantastic, Neelu. So good to talk to you, and thank you very much for accepting to talk to us today.
Well, no problem, certainly. And thank you for your time. And hopefully, the video helps the viewers.
Absolutely. I'm personally sure that the amount of experience you have gained and the knowledge you carry, it's going to be an revolutionary video today for sure. Awesome, awesome, Neelu. So how about you quickly introduce yourself, who you are, where you're coming from? Maybe I know you're born and brought up in Canada, and we have a lot of immigrants and international students watching this video as well. Give a little bit of background about yourself, and we'll take it forward from there.
Sure. So I did my master's in supply chain management. And after completing my master's, I started working for a logistics company. And where I actually started doing all this truck like tracing and writing quotes and trying to find out new customers and that side of trucking. So which actually helped me to gain the knowledge of trucking industry in Canada because trucking industry holds a significant importance for Canada, US, and Mexico. So it gives you a broader perspective about the entire industry of how trucking plays an important role in supply chain. So I did that, and while I was doing that, I opted for my Six Sigma certification. So currently, I am Black Belt Six Sigma certified, and I help businesses to make their processes lean, increase their revenue, to be more agile. Because of COVID, we all understood that how important it is to have a lean and agile supply chain, to react quickly with the changing demand, to react quickly that you're not out of inventory, over inventory, and those sort of problems. So I did my Six Sigma, and then I started working for Canadian General Filters, which was a manufacturing company, where I used to do procurement, production planning. I also did merger and acquisition and ERP implementation there. And that actually helped me to gain a lot of knowledge about the entire supply chain, how a raw material is procured, sourcing was done, and you have to pass it to your engineering team, and how the entire supply chain goes through from raw materials till the finished goods, and how consumer demand is understood. And that again goes back to procurement. So it was a complete circle for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started connecting all the dots of supply chain, because when you study, it's completely different,
Mm-hmm.
right? And after that, I started my journey in consulting field
Mm-hmm.
in supply chain. And for that, I actually started applying for consulting firms, saying that, okay, I have internal consulting experience, and now I'm good to go for a client-facing consulting, which is called as supply chain consultant role. And I started my journey with USC Consulting, and currently I'm an independent consultant. So I uh, develop my own projects, and I help the clients to go lean. During
Awesome.
this phase, actually, I started looking into generative AI, and
Mhm.
I started questioning that, okay, how can this be used
Mhm.
to make supply chain more lean, to, like all this data, information, anything that we look into Google is captured. So how
Mhm.
this mass data can be utilized for making our supply chain lean. So
Mhm.
that's when I entered in the world of AI, and I started
Mhm.
my education all over again.
Oh, wow.
So that's where I started with my first Google Cloud certification. That was my generative AI learning path, where I actually went through 10 badges, which explained me
Mhm.
about what generative AI is, how to make a responsible AI, because you don't want AI to generate any harmful
Correct.
information,
Yes.
right? So that's where I took my first step in generative AI, and then I started into looking for another courses that could actually help me to develop my own AI model.
Mhm.
And I wanted to understand how the backend works.
Mhm.
So that's when I came up with this course that's called Advanced AI Techniques for Supply Chain,
Mhm.
and that was from Coursera.
Mhm.
And then after that, I could now develop my own neural that's called Advanced Network AI, where I design the algorithms and I understand the patterns. So how text to text or image to text, or
Yes.
how these models work, right? Like ChatGPT, it's text to text model. So now I can probably develop, not to the tech persons that they can do out in the world, but a baby step in that side, right? And finally, I enrolled myself for MIT,
Wow.
which is very renowned for technology side, because I wanted to take my passion further in the field of AI and digitalization. So currently I enrolled for MIT and hopefully I pass it nicely.
Awesome, awesome, Nilu. And I feel like you're a lifelong learner and you have so much of credentials in your bag. And the way you have, like, started in the transportation company to procurement and to consulting and to AI and now MIT. So it's very inspiring. And that's one of the reason why I wanted to have you in this particular podcast, because I see that you have wealth of knowledge in the supply chain industry, and your work towards educating yourself is going to really inspire a lot of people who are looking to venture and whatnot. So going back a little bit backwards, now I know that you already built a mountain of experience in your career. So what actually drew you towards getting into supply chain? Because right now supply chain is a very new thing, right? Like maybe 5 6 years or 8 years back, there was nothing called supply chain. Our procurements, and procurement was under finance, transportation was under something else. So it was all decentralized. Nothing, the supply chain was not united or centralized in one particular format. So now supply chain itself is becoming very trendy. Governments are talking about it. Prime ministers are talking about it. Everybody are talking about it. So what drove you personally to venture into supply chain before all these fluff?
So honestly, like when I was a kid and you know things were very different back in 1990s, right? So
Mm.
um we couldn't find any Asian groceries and stuff like that. We had to drive for like almost 40-50 kilometers to find one thing that we want. And me being an Asian, my parents were used to drive long to get some grocery part. And then would always ask me, like, oh, this is not our stuff. How do we find it here? So
Mhm.
that question of why is very important throughout the journey of my entire journey, is to keep on asking why, how does this happen, right? Now people who have this passion of questioning how things happen, they tend to gain a lot of knowledge. Like, you every single time, even if somebody thinks that, okay, this is not a relevant question, still ask for it, right? I see a lot of people are scared that they don't want to ask. They don't post on LinkedIn thinking, oh, people going to judge me. But
Yes.
it's not about what somebody thinks. It's about what you feel and you put your thought forward. So that's when I actually started to understand, okay, this is what an import export is called as. Then
Mhm.
this concept came in my mind. Okay, this is import export. So what is the overall umbrella that involves every single thing,
Mhm.
right? That's when I started understanding supply chain. And throughout my journey, when I took my master's, I wasn't sure what my life is going to look like, to be very honest. And nobody knows, of course. And that's why I was like, okay, let me take supply chain, and there
Mhm.
should be some jobs out there for supply chain.
Mhm. Mhm.
Little did I know that there are a lot of jobs out in the market for supply chain. After COVID, market has gone crazy for supply chain, right?
Yes.
So thing that wasn't visible a couple of years ago is now gaining a lot of visibility.
Correct.
And knowingly or unknowingly, COVID has kind of help people understand the importance of supply chain, right? Like why supply chain is important for accurate inventory. If you want something, how is that coming right in front of you?
Mm.
So, there is a saying, right thing at the right time, at
Fair
the
enough.
right
That
place.
is
Exactly.
right
So
quantity.
that exactly. So, that question of why helped me to answer all the right things. And that's how I started with my supply chain journey.
Amazing, amazing. That's very inspiring because your curiosity took to a step where you wanted to, like, really learn how the goods and services are maintained. And in Canada, we don't manufacture a lot of stuff. We get most of it from outside. It might be Mexico, it might be US, or it might be Asia, Europe. And as population is growing within Canada, we need more and more supply chain professionals who can get the product right quantity, right place, right time, right shape, right quality. There are a lot of rights here. So but we
Exactly.
need the right supply chain professionals who can drive the results and whatnot. I really appreciate for that particular answer. So now, you mentioned about supply chain consulting. So typically supply chain is like an ocean thing, right? Like you have logistics, you have inventory management, purchasing,
Mhm.
procurement, demand planning, forecasting, sourcing, customer service. I can go on, like I can literally go on, customs, shipping, transportation, and all of these things. Out of all of these things, people are already not really clear about, hey, where should I go? Where is the future? Should I go into procurement? Should I go into transportation? Yes, everybody has their own passion. At the same time, they're also worried about, if I follow my passion, will it pay me at a later point? Or will it really give me the growth, what I'm looking for and whatnot? So now the supply chain consultant word is being popularized nowadays. And I hear a lot of times people talking about being a supply chain consultant. So if think I'm a layman, I have no idea what is supply chain consultant. So if you can just explain me, what does it mean to be a supply chain consultant? What are some of the primary job duties? Maybe 3-4 bullet points in terms of what would be a primary job duty of a supply chain consultant.
So, supply chain consultant, basically, a life in a supply chain consultant shoe will look like visiting client's site, right? Understanding their problem, listening out to them, and reaching out to different employees, talking, understanding, taking all the data, information, analyzing it, and then coming up with a suggestion that, okay, this is where we think you're going to make more profit, or you can reduce your expenses, and whatever the relevant questions are for the companies. But the main idea of a supply chain consultant when they walk in is they walk in like a blank white paper. But then we start painting. Okay, now you visit a client. Okay, this is the problem that we have. We want to increase our production capacity. Should we buy a new location? Should we extend, like make 3 shifts? What should we do? That's when you start drilling. You have a question and you want to find the answer. That's what a supply chain consultant do. Usually, to get into the answer and help the companies make a right decision, it's a very important thing, because depending on a consultant's suggestion, company's going to make their decision. And if the decision go wrong, it's going to affect not only the company, but overall to the consulting firm as well. So you might have to do a lot of analysis. That's where your data analytics come into the role, right? And then you have to understand that, okay, with all this information, you also have to do process mapping, like use softwares like Visio, which is Microsoft, and Power BI for doing your
Reporting.
data analytics and stuff, right? And you have to come up with a suggestion, and you have to back up your suggestion, which is very important. That's what I think, that it's not important that you have a suggestion, but how do you back up your suggestion? How do you prove your suggestion is right? That is most important thing in the supply chain consultant world.
Fair enough, fair enough. It's almost like you hiring, let's say you have a problem in the house and you don't know what is causing the problem, and you hire an independent contractor. They come into it, they ask you the questions, what is the problem, and they fix it and they go back. And it might be a problem in, talking about supply chain, it might be a procurement problem, or it might be a warehousing problem, or it might be productivity problem of employees, anything which contributes towards driving the profits to the company.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Awesome. You put it very well and really appreciate it. So now, assuming based on whatever you said, I understand that if you want to become a supply chain consultant, obviously fresh out of school, you might not able to become a supply chain consultant because you need that industry knowledge, if I'm not wrong, or fresh out of graduates can become consultants as well.
So again, it depends. Like so every student has to go through your co-ops or internship or something, right? Where you get training. Now, to get into consulting, you might require little bit of experience in the field of supply chain, you need to understand, you need to connect all the dots like demand planning, procurement, production, warehousing, how everything is interconnected. And my experiences says, like personally, is once you have the experience of overall supply chain, it's always good to step in then into the world of consulting rather than just walking as a brand new person into the consulting world and feeling inferior because you don't hold enough knowledge.
Correct.
Or experience, because you might have knowledge from your educational background, but you might not have experience enough to back up your knowledge, right? So it's always important to first cover all the facets of supply chain, get an understanding, keep on reading while you're doing that, like read more, and then opt for the consulting field.
Makes sense. It's almost like in your case, you worked in the transportation company, dispatching, taking care of routing and all of these things. So you understood the logistics part of the business, and then you went to a company where you actually did raw material sourcing, production planning. So you understood how does the product comes, raw material comes into the industry and goes out as a finished good. And you also have idea of distribution, and then you have your learning tools from AI. So digitalization, business knowledge, tools, analytics, techniques, everything together makes you as a supply chain consultant. Correct?
Correct.
Awesome. So you're like the god coming to save the business.
Well, I wouldn't say guard, because honestly, it's their business. They know the best, right? We are walking just as a helper, I would say more.
Okay, fair enough.
Because businesses do know what they're doing, right? They are the best who are working every day. They know their vision. They know what they want to achieve. We are just there to help them to reach to that decision or that point, what they are aiming, right? So we are just like a catalyst or maybe a helper or something like that.
Navigator, GPS.
Exactly, a navigator.
Fair enough. So assuming somebody has 3 or 4 years of experience in Canada in supply chain, maybe they worked as a supply chain analyst or maybe a procurement analyst or an inventory analyst in a big corporation, and they have figured out most of the nitty-gritties of supply chain management. They understand what is capacity planning. They understand what is inventory management. They understand what is forecasting. They don't have a lot of experience. And now maybe after looking at this video, they're like, you know what, I think I can become a consultant. Maybe not right now, after maybe 1 year, 2 years later. So how does that journey looks like, pivoting from an analyst or a manager of a supply chain manager to a supply chain consultant and giving 1 year of time? What are some of the technical skills you think that it is much important to develop in this particular period? What are some analytical skills, technical skills, subject matter, whatever you want to throw it? I'm really excited to listen.
So my thing is, like, firstly, everybody needs to decide what, because supply chain is a big field, right? When you become a consultant, it's kind of important to hold knowledge of all the different facets of supply chain, right? Now, every facet you might hold knowledge, but then you hold experience, which helps you to take that route that, okay, this is where I think I hold experience and knowledge both, right? Now, while deciding that, like you said, if somebody is looking to get into consulting after a year or two, maybe, start reading, okay, what are the trending courses out there in the market that has to offer, right? Do you want to go into the tech world and integrate it with your supply chain experience? Or do you want to say, like, be purely supply chain related person and not enter the tech world? That's also fine, right? But there are several decisions that a person has to make that, okay, I want to, like, how do you aim? What is your objective of being a consultant? Like, my personal objective is to drive efficiency using digitalization in the field of supply chain, right? Now, how do I do this was the second question I asked. So I know that I want to do digitalization, but okay, what are the trending things? So I came out to be, okay, there's generative AI. So how do I do that? Now, because you are opting into a completely different field, you need to understand that you have to start from scratch again, right? So I started with coding, then you have to step up and up and up, right? Now, a lot of times you will find a lot of courses out in the market. So don't think which holds more value or which university or which college has a bigger brand. Just go for the education, go for the content, what they have to offer. Like, what are you gaining out of the course is the important thing that you have to look while taking any courses that are available.
Yeah, because right now the popular courses are the EPICS and SCM certifications and whatnot. But based on my experience or understanding, EPICS is more towards the overall foundation of the supply chain management. I'm not too sure it would really equip you to become a consultant, supply chain consultant.
It would actually, honestly, like, I do hold EPICS as well. But, so I did supply chain technology certification from there, and I am in the middle of getting my CSPP certification as well. So what happens is, firms like EPICS or Google or any big companies that are out there offering this kind of courses or a certification, what they do is they actually help you in taking your first step in the field of consulting. right? Then it also comes down to every individual. Okay, after I gain the knowledge, how much I'm willing to put my knowledge into the actual real world out, right? Like all this courses, everything will offer you education, knowledge, which helps you to put your feet out in the market. But then doing is something on every individual, right? So when you talked about Apex, Apex has a wide range of courses, amazing educational content. Like I literally enjoy when I read them. So that's why I keep on taking their courses, because it helps me to stay updated what's going on in the market, right? It also helps me to make my network strong, because all the small things do matter when you're trying to get into a different world than what you have been doing, right? Because consulting, some people get lucky enough that they walk out of college or university and they get into it, but not everybody has that leverage, right? And people who do get into it, they have their own journey as well. Like it's not easy for them too, right? So
they got to grow once they get in.
Exactly. So
fair enough, Neelu. I think this question needs a separate video altogether. Like, about the certifications part. I feel like we can do a 30 minutes video just talking about different certifications, what it contains, and how does it really help if you take it. Because the challenge is very simple right now. There's a lot of information, but not everybody know about how to pick right certification. And I've seen a lot of students just picking up certifications just out of peer pressure, saying that, oh, you take this certificate, it'll get you a job, etc., etc. But they truly did not have any passion towards doing something out of that particular thing.
See, that's my that's a really good point. And to support that, what I have to say is, when I take any certification, I don't aim for job. I run for work. I don't run for money. I do understand that we all run on financial crunches, and not everybody has the liberty to, keep on studying. But remember, if you're gonna run for, okay, if I take this certification, I'll get a job. That's a wrong way to think. Think what the certification is going to add a value. Right? Just like a supply chain, we have value chain as well, right? So don't run for like job or money. Run for knowledge. Run for learning something new. Don't just keep on because I also see a lot of people doing all different random certification, which actually doesn't help them to build a chain, right? It's taking knowledge, which is good. Of course, it's not harm. Like knowledge is power, but then does it help you to grow in your field, or is it completely different? That's something you need to answer by yourself.
No, that I totally agree, because they're unable to connect the dots, because they're thinking that, okay, if I do this, I'm going to get that, but they're not getting it. They're getting disappointed. And I have like 6-7 years of experience in supply chain industry in Canada, and going through all of these 6-7 years of experience, what I've understood about supply chain management is, if you just want to do your job and then let it go, you're not going to really thrive in this industry. You're going to cut your paycheck for sure, no questions about it. But if you want to really grow, you should have deep passion towards learning, understanding all the trends, keep on learning, so that way you can move forward and create an impact within the supply chain industry. That's what I figured out. Again, you're a prime example of that. I got so inspired looking at all the credentials and all the amount of time and effort you're putting in terms of learning new things. I'm personally inspired by you.
Well, thank you. For me, it's like supply chain is the field for people who like to hustle every single day, every single hour. Like you literally need to wear multiple hats. You need to do a lot of stuff, right? You have to keep moving. You can just not be stagnant and think like, okay, I'm done with the job and this is what I have to do. Like when your job becomes everyday routine, it's not good. And supply chain, that's why it's a unique field, because there is a hustle every day. You have to play with fire every hour, and you don't know what's going to happen the next moment. So that's the fun about supply chain.
I remember my boss was saying, we are the firefighters in the computer. So there's always fire coming in, we are putting in the water. So I totally understand that. I know we are having some great conversation. A couple more questions. We are almost done here, Neelu.
Sure.
So maybe you want to throw some light on what would be the pay range. Let's say I have a 4 or 5 years of general supply chain experience, and I'm venturing into with all the certifications, I proved myself, and I got in maybe in mid or entry level consultant role. What would be the typical pay looks like? Maybe you can give a range,
So every company holds a different pay range in the field of consulting. Every consultant brings their own value. As I mentioned, value, right? So every consultant holds a certain value. You have to prove in order to claim any pay range. So, but on a brief, I would say, don't take this as a dedicated pay range again, because everybody will then start thinking, oh, this is what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
But average, I would say, starting would be 80K after you hold certain years of experience, enough knowledge to back your experience as well, and willingness to do, and all the things that we discussed about previously. If you have everything, then yeah, you can start with that.
Absolutely. To sum it up, the bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. The bigger the problem you solve in the company, the bigger the paycheck you get. The smaller the problem you're solving, the smaller the paycheck. It's as simple.
Because the bigger the problem, the bigger the risk you're taking as well. When you're implementing your own suggestions, you're taking that much risk for the company. And that's why you get paid, because you took a risk, calculated risk, you backed it up, and you proved your suggestion. So
yeah, and the bigger the problem and bigger the revenue as well. Like the more the faster you solve, the bigger the problem, the more the revenue as well. So obviously the company would be more than happy to pay you more as well. My last question, Nilu. So you also touched upon AI. You're already learning a lot of AI courses and whatnot. Maybe in a brief like a sentence or two, how do you think AI is going to impact the supply chain industry? And what are some of the things supply chain professionals should know? They don't have to like really panic right now, but should know that they're not becoming a victim of losing their jobs because of AI, but at least they're adapting to some of the AI technologies so that way they can sustain their jobs and whatnot.
So firstly, let me make it very, very clear that humans are not going to lose their job for AI. So don't worry, our jobs are safe, because remember, it's us who are training the algorithms for AI. It's us who are designing it. It's us who are making it, right? So they are not going to replace it. Yes, certainly we might have to acquire new technical skills, because the world is changing so fast. So if we want to stay in the market, it's always good to keep on studying, right? And that's where, like, you can take several courses from Google. You can start scrolling out in the market what is there, right? Now, about what is the role of AI in supply chain management, I would say the most important part right now that I think is a supply chain visibility. Like, right? What is the origin of the raw material? We don't know where it is made. What is the, like, was it made under the ethical code of conduct, which it should be? We don't know all these questions. There is no visibility, right? Where is my container? I have to reach out to my freight forwarder. Oh, where is my container? Did it clear customs? So there are a lot of layers, just like how onion has a lot of layers. And that reduces the visibility. So what AI can do is to give a visibility. Now, blockchain, everybody knows how blockchain works, right? But did anybody think that you can also use blockchain same technology for a supply chain? So, like, there are smart contracts where it's only between the two related parties, and all the information can be traced back. Every history is there, right? There is no deleting of information. Whoever has the key can look into the information when it's required. That is how AI will help. So I would say first is transparency, traceability, all these things, right? Then you get real-time information. Like, if there's a cold container going out somewhere, you have to maintain certain temperature. You need certain humidity for food, especially, right? There is a lot of frozen food transporting around the world. So how do you maintain it? How do you know my container has the actual humidity, has the correct temperature? It's not going to get spoiled when it lands to the country, destination country, right? So all this information, how are you going to get it? Through sensors. How are sensors going to help is a part of AI, right? Where all the data analytics comes into the role, and your sensors come in the role, and all this information, right? So, and then efficient inventory management, because as per what we saw in COVID, we don't want to go through God forbid, we don't have to go through another natural disaster. But if we do, how are we going to deal with it? That's where actually I think AI can play a very important role, is to answer this question about what is my inventory. Like, I recently developed a demand forecasting model that integrates real-time information, social media interactions, and all this information together for a particular product. And it would say, okay, you might need this X amount of product. Now use your historical, use your real-time information, club it together. There you go. You know what you need, right? So this is where AI will play a key part. So the more you read about it, the more you will understand that it's not going to replace humans. It's actually going to make their life easier if you learn the right skill at the right time.
Agreed. Awesome, Nilu. Not just you're a strong, supply chain professional, you are a significant narrator as well. So I was able to understand everything what you told in a very simple language, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to really, really help the viewers as well to make right decisions in their supply chain career. Any last parting thoughts from your side?
So as I mentioned earlier, like, don't run for work. Don't run for money, run for work. Keep on working. Every single thing will fall into its own place at the right time. And I saw somebody quoting it, that in the race of excellence, there is no finish line. So don't stop. If you want to grow, if you want to be at the top, keep on learning, because learning will help you to reach eventually where you want to be. So keep on reading.
Awesome. My biggest takeaway from this particular talk is in the race of excellence, there is no finish line. So I'm going to take it to home. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that everybody are really benefited. And guys, Neelu also agreed to share some of the links of the courses, what she did in terms of AI, also supply chain consulting and whatnot. So I'm going to add those links in the description. So feel free to do that. And I've been following Neelu on LinkedIn. She's doing some amazing job, being very, very consistent in terms of posting content and sharing her learnings about supply chain management and a lot of data analytics. So if somebody is a data-driven data analyst, people enthusiast, please follow Neelu, shoot her a question. And also, if you are in small business or a big business looking for a consultant, reach out to Neelu and she'll be more than happy to help you out to solve your problems. With that, we are done. Signing off.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.